drug abuse or substance abuse. Do you subscribe to that opinion?
Well, considering the Nigerian youth covers up to like 60% of the population, drug use is going to increase by 60%, and one of the reasons by 40%, sorry. And one of the reasons is that Africa has a booming youth population, and
Wow.
young people are mostly the ones that subscribe to using these drugs. So, yeah, with our
Wow.
youth population, I think it explains itself.
Wow. Now that is alarming, Aisha, because now, okay, no, let me come back home. Um, is alcohol a drug?
Drug, but it's illegal.
What did you say? I didn't catch that.
It's a drug, but it's legal in most countries. It's in most
but
countries.
but but, but
It's
it
not illegal.
is it not susceptible to abuses as well?
It is on a daily basis. The deaths that are alcohol has more deaths attributed to it than any other substance. So of course, the fact that
Alcohol
it's
has more
legal makes
death
it more
attributed
readily
to it. Now,
available. And
Aisha, can you please say that again? Let our guests, our viewers, understand you. Alcohol has
so
more deaths.
attributed to it on a daily basis than any other substance.
Really?
Yeah. So the fact that it's legal doesn't make it safe or doesn't make it a better alternative.
Wow. Now, okay, now let's go look at the broad question, therefore. So, um, if you're looking at the abuses, therefore, and the drugs that are prevalent to such abuses, how do we begin to correct all this in the mental makeup of our people?
Sorry, please rephrase the question again.
I
If you
said
look
by
at
looking,
the drugs being abused,
yes, because now when you say alcohol is legal, but it's also a drug, and it can be
yeah,
abused. So how
yeah.
can we begin to let our people reorientate themselves to know how not to get caught in that abuse?
So that's why I said education. Education is very important. Drugs education is very, very important. You will be amazed to know the number of people that actually do not even know how these drugs influence them. The only thing they know is how it makes them feel when they take it. But any long-term effect or what even happens in your brain once when you're high or when you're craving the drugs, they don't even know. So imagine you're taking in something and you really don't even know what it is doing to you. How are you supposed to control your use? So education should be on all levels. Like we cannot overemphasize the need for drugs education. Right from primary level, from the point where somebody understands language, they need to start knowing. You know, the same way that, of course, as a child, even a child would know not to play with fire. It's because they've been taught what fire can do to them. So that's how significant this needs to be. So forget that it's legal or illegal. It's a whole long debate, but let you be informed about what these things are capable of doing to you. So education, drugs education cannot be overemphasized at all levels, every level of the society, schools, hospitals, organizations, tertiary
Even
institutions,
markets, even at the
everywhere,
market, yes,
markets,
yes.
everywhere that there are humans, on our media houses. So, like we're talking about it now, it shouldn't be just an International Day of Drug Use Day kind of thing. We should keep making this conversation in people's faces.
All right, great. We'll see how we can do that. But incidentally, I must commend you. You have an advocacy group, trying to do some of those things. We can't talk about that on this show, but we'll talk about that another day. But first, let me look at something else again that we are looking at here. Do we have instances of children who have suffered from forced drug abuse?
Yes, so I'll give you this is a personal experience in my work working with substance users in addiction treatment. I've seen a couple of young people whose first incidence of getting into drug use is bullying. So in school they get bullied. Maybe they find out that a senior is using drugs, and then they force the person to take the drugs also, so
Along
the
with them.
person cannot snitch, so that the person doesn't end up snitching. Even outside school, I've known a couple of people who have gotten into drugs that way. So they were forced to take it because if you take it, then you cannot go and snitch to authority, because if you do, then we can also say you are also on the drugs.
Wow.
You get, and then before you know it, the person gets addicted. And that's the thing, that's the crazy thing with addiction. You don't know when it begins. You don't know who is more susceptible, who is more likely to get addicted to what or not, and when. It just happens. So I've seen people who got into forced use like that. And then, of course, if you look at child labor, child laborers have that high tendency of accidentally stumbling upon drugs and using it, or being abused by, or you find young people who are abused by, who are in abusive situations, maybe sexual abuse or something like that, or unfavorable conditions, or people who are marginalized in the society who are forced to take up using drugs as a coping mechanism. Or you find young people who are in the trade of selling drugs,
Drugs, yeah.
that they don't even understand what they are even doing. It's not like the money even comes to them so much, and then before you know it, from that experiment, and then they become forced to use it to earn their daily bread, or so this happens all the time.
Now, you have painted a rather, I don't know, I don't want to say a frightening picture there, but uh, the important thing that this conversation should help us to do, therefore, so how do we, therefore, mobilize for anti-drug campaigns amongst our people? Yes, you have said something about starting from school level to markets and all that and all that. But who should be the champion? Who should be the team lead, just like you are in your own advocacy program?
So there are three areas I would like to talk about that I know Nigerians definitely listen to. One is school. Nigerians attend school. I always proudly say this everywhere I go. Nigerians go to school. Yes, we have our own challenges with education, but Nigerians go to school. Like, you can at every point count at least hundreds and thousands of graduates and all of that. So school is a very important part of our lives as Nigerians. If we have those type of campaigns in schools, imagine the number of people that it gets to, the number of people that it would save from making such decisions. And then our religious sector. Nigerians are religious, whether over or not, but we are very religious people.
Yeah.
And we have religious leaders that are respected in the society. Imagine if these religious leaders